Hey, Team Alvarez, how's it going today? Along with everybody else out there, it's Monday, February 13th, 2017. Just finished up some good training earlier this morning with the 10:30 class. Missed the 6 a.m. class this morning. Got in late from Houston. The drive was pretty tough. Got done late, so got home late. So thanks to Coach Rennie for picking that up for me. Today, I want to talk about, what do you do um, after a loss? How do you handle a loss, especially after you put in so much work and time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears and getting injured and everything else that comes along with training for a competition, or just anything else kind of related to that. When you put in so much work for something, you know, what do you what do you do when you lose? What do you lose? What do you do when you come up short? We had the Houston Open this past weekend. We had 7 competitors. Um, we had 4 out of the 7 place. We had 2 out of the 4 take gold, and the other 2 took silver. So myself and Mr. Chris West took gold, and then Mr. Beaumontier and Mr. Brian Harris took silver. And then, of course, we had the 3 that went out there, fought really hard, gave it all they had. It just, they came up short of the medal podium and didn't place. So, I know those individuals aren't feeling all that great, because losing never feels great. Losing sucks, um, and the ones that took second place, I know they feel not as bad because you made the podium and you did come home with a medal, but that's not why you go there. You don't go to compete to take second place. You go to win and take it all. Uh, you know, and so I know that kind of stings a little bit. So I had a student yesterday, sit down and ask me, you know, how do you handle this? How do you deal with the you know with a loss like that? And again, for some more than others, when you put in so much work, so much time, and dedicate everything to your craft, you know, and you go out there and fight as hard as you can, and you come up short, it really, really hurts. For those that don't train that much, don't really put in a lot of work, you know, kind of half-heartedly give effort, and then when you go out and lose, I think those individuals kind of expect, to lose. So, or if they do lose, it doesn't maybe hurt that bad because they didn't really put that much effort into it, you know. So there's kind of like a difference there depending on who the individual is, so this is kind of more for those ones that are just putting everything in, all in, and just you come up short. Me being a really active competitor, I've been competing since I moved down here in 2002. uh, Never taken a break. Been competing from white belt till it's my 9th year as a black belt. Just fought at the Europeans last month in Portugal, won 3 fights, then came up short in the finals. um, that hurts. I took second place last year and the year before out there, and it's a long way to go. It's a long way to go. It's a lot of work to put in. I trained all through the holiday, didn't take time off like most people do during the Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday. Ran, worked out, trained hard, like just didn't take time off, because I knew I had that tournament coming up. And you think it's your time, you think it's your year. I already took second place 2 years prior to that. I mean, I won it back in 2011, but I've been trying to win it again, and it didn't happen again this year. So that's the 3rd year in a row where I put in all this work, time, and effort, and came up short again. Makes it for a long flight home, but it's not devastating to the point where I just want to say, that's it. Never gonna do this again. It's not for me. You know, um, you know, at that moment you're feeling kind of down. your mind's kind of weak, and that's when it starts to play tricks on you. Your mind starts to tell you things. You start having these self-talks, which aren't good, of maybe you start questioning why you're doing what you're doing. And that's just a weak moment, and you got to snap out of it and just be like, man, I'm just being a little soft right now and just being a little weak, and I just need to snap out of it because it's not the end. It's definitely not the end. So for me, a couple tips to kind of help what I do kind of handle tough losses, because I've been pretty successful on this competition scene, especially as a black belt, but I definitely had my taste, and share of losses, and it sucks. So the first thing is right away is to just get your head straight. Hey, this isn't the end. It's not over. I got more in me. Just having a weak moment. The next thing is to just say, hey, when's the next one? When's the next one? Like, grab your cell phone, pick, there's all kind of tournaments here locally, IBJJF, whatever. You got to get back out there right away. You got to get back out there and fight again as soon as possible. You got to come back to the mat and train as soon as possible. If you didn't take gold, man, you don't deserve the day off. You just don't. You need to come back to the mat and train and ask questions and break down the film of your matches and what happened, and let's fix that. It's not for everybody. Not everybody's used to losing. Maybe you're were really dominant and alpha, whatever, male, female, in some other sport. Now you come here and then you take a loss. I've seen students just quit, like take a loss and never come back, and they defined who they were by one tournament that they lost. And then I have other students like Mr. Sean Lobb that came in this morning that lost on Saturday, was training today. So that's a very good sign. That shows me a lot about him because he came back to train right away. So I look forward to the other ones that came up short this weekend to be on the mat. I know they'll be on the mat tonight. I know they will, because that's just kind of who they are. But you have those other individuals where you get so weak and broken down that you just want to take a week off, take a day off, and take a month. I've had students not come back for over a month. And when I see them again, I ask them where they've been. They're like, oh, I lost and I couldn't handle it, and I just couldn't come back. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but that's them. But that's definitely not me. My top competitors don't do that. So the best way to handle that is to get back to the mat right away. I won this past weekend. I didn't have to train this morning at 10:30, but I'm out there with my guys putting in work. It's just what I do. I really don't take time off. Some people tell me that I should, but every individual is different, and I don't. So that's just how I do things. So first thing, again, you got this weak moment going on, this look kind of like dark cloud floating over top of your head, and you need to pick your head up. You need to get back to work. You need to find the next competition, and you need to get back out there and try again. The longer you sit on that loss that you just had and you don't compete and get out there and fight again, you're going to keep thinking about that. Thinking about it at work, thinking about, like, wherever you're doing, it's going to creep back in your mind. You're going to be just dwelling on it, let it simmer, marinate about the loss. But when you look for that next tournament and you're looking to compete again, now you have an opportunity to start thinking about something else, back to game planning, back to fixing what you need to fix, and get ready for the next one, and think less of what just happened. Is that loss going to be there? Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change anything. It's history. It's done. It's it. We have a tournament coming up this weekend, so I already know that I have students that lost this past weekend are getting ready to compete this weekend, and that's a very good thing, because now their mind is changing. It's switching. The process is now going into this next tournament, and they're going to think less and less of this lost one. It's going to be there for sure. I know it is. But now their mind is starting to shift into something else, getting ready for the next one. that's going to help tremendously with the healing process of a loss. You just can't sit out there like that and just not come back and fight back, because man, that's just what life is, man. Life's just going to deal you some crappy stuff, and then what do? You just fold, give up, say that's it, I don't want no more. You know, like, man, if you're a fighter, you're a competitor, man, like that's just who you are. Like, you just need to put your back against the wall and just scrap. Like, just get with it. Like, that's all you, I mean, that's all you can do. That's all you, I mean, that's just what you need to do. If you sit on the couch, you sit at home, start dwelling on all this stuff, man, you know, you're just acting like a loser, man. There's really no other way to put it. You know, you're going to build that culture of losing, and that's just what's going to, you're going to bring more of that into your life. You know, I kind of wonder about students sometimes when they lose a jiu-jitsu competition, you know, and they quit. I kind of wonder what else in life that they're giving up on and quitting because they didn't get their way. They didn't you know, have their moment like they wanted, and so it's like, oh, that's it, I'm gonna go on and do something else. And I've had students do that, and I'm kind of thinking in my head, well, you know, if you couldn't handle this, and if you lose again in something else, you're gonna quit that too and then go to something else, and then quit that too and then go to something else. Like, no, like, I'm not gonna quit something until I win, until I beat it. When you beat it, you win, and then if you want to quit and go to do something else, well, at least you left a winner. You didn't leave like a loser. And if you leave on a winning note on top, then you can take that into another area that you want to go do something else, and you're going to go win at that too, because when times get tough, you won't give up. You're going to win that, and then if you want to quit on that and do something else, then fine. But you can't leave on a losing note. You can't leave on a silver medal, man. You can't, or a bronze medal, or not even a medal at all, and then just say, man, that's it, I'm done. You know, it's over. You'll build this culture of losing. You know, I was listening to Eric Thomas. You know, again, you know, I listen to him all day, every day. You know, he always says, you know, don't cry to give up, cry to keep going. Maybe you're not crying literally, even though I know some of the guys do. You know, but you're down, you're having a down moment, your mind is weak, so you're crying in a sense. And, you know, you need to cry to keep going. You're already in pain, he says, you know, get a reward from it. You know, get a reward from all this pain, all this frustration that you have. Like, don't stop until you get the reward from all this frustration. You lose, and you're beat up, life's giving you all this stuff, and then you just quit. Man, that's tough. You know, you gotta cry to keep going, and you know, you gotta keep fighting. You can't just stop like that. You just can't. You gotta pick yourself back up. You know, if you're a competitor, you need to put your gi back on, tie your belt. You know, if it's no gi competitor, I mean, you know, put your rash guard back on or whatever, and get back to work. You know, get back to fighting, get back to getting out there. If it's another field or something else that you're doing, you know, get back to work. That's all I know how to do. That's just what I've been doing. You know, that's how I deal with it. That's how the longer I sit on something, it's just gonna suck even more. And like I said, if you have all this pain and don't get a reward from it, you crying and you just quit, and you have this culture of losing, that's just what's going to be around you. You're going to pull that around you. You know, you kind of watch I watch sports a lot. I'm a big sports fan. I listen to the coaches. I listen to the players when they win, when they lose. What they say is very important in the interviews. You know, how they react, what they're doing, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, like this past year with the NFL, with the football, you know, you had the Cleveland Browns. They went 1-15. I mean, if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure I saw that right. You know, if I'm incorrect, I'm sorry about that. And if you're from Cleveland, I'm not dissing on your city. It's just something needs to change. something needs to change quick, and it needs to start at the very bottom. Well, it needs to start at the top first, and then and build it all the way, all the way down to the very bottom. Like I was making a joke last week when the Patriots won. I'm like, man, they're winners, whether you hate them or not. They're just absolute winners. Tom Brady, Belichick, you can talk about the Deflategate and all this other crap, like whatever. Bottom line, they win. They got 5 Super Bowl rings together. I made a joke like, man, I said, man, the water boy is probably the best water boy in the NFL because they don't want a sucky loser water boy on their team. Like all the way down to the water boy, throughout all the management, through the whole team, offense, defense, coaches, like whatever, the whole organization is just about winning. When you go to the Patriots, you're on a winning team. Like you're there's expectations that you should win, that you need to bring everything you got. You go to, and this is not my city either, but Detroit's not my actual city, but it's my team. That's where I'm from. But the Lions, they went 0-16 one year, a couple years ago, or whenever that was, and that's horrible, But things are changing. They made some right moves, got rid of some guys, management, whatever, and they're moving in the right direction, But when you're like 1-15, man, it's a complete overhaul. Like you need to get in there and just rebuild and just like fix everything, all the way down to the water boy, towel boy, or whoever, the Gatorade person, whoever hands out Gatorades and squeezes the Gatorades into the player's mouth. Like that better be the best Gatorade squeezer guy. Like he better be on his A game, because I want A game water boy Gatorades, like whatever. Like everybody on my squad has to be A game, because we're going to bring the A game. But if you're just allowing loser stuff in your organization, in your team, well, you're going to end up having a loser organization, team, life, friends, whatever, so all that matters. So, you got to get back out there. You got to get back out there and fight. You can't sit there and dwell and pout on a loss. Use it as fuel. Use it to fire you back up and just come back even stronger the next time. That's just what I've been doing. I don't want to jinx myself, so I just won't say it. But when I lose, it's somebody's paying for it on the next one. Not that I have anything personal against my competitor. It's just I got a lot of stuff that I went through on that loss, that on this next one, like they better be ready, because I'm bringing the pain, and I'm gonna give my absolute best, because I got all this built up inside of me from my loss that it's got to go somewhere, and it's gonna go out on that mat until whoever I shake hands with, so don't cry to quit, cry to keep going. You're already in pain, so get a reward from it. Like Eric Thomas said, that's not my quote, that's his. Get back out there and fight. That's it. Don't start to build a losing culture around you by just giving up and saying that's enough, don't want no more, and then you just invite more and more losing around you and stuff like that. So without struggle, there is no progress. That's the shirt I got on. Another Eric Thomas phrase. It's just one of those things. It's just good nuggets, good stuff that I can just use with me day in and day out. And again, you show your true character when you lose, to your friends and people around you, yourself. How do you come back from a loss? What are you gonna do? We're all watching. People are watching me. Hopefully I prove that again this weekend, that's just not, what Coach Alvarez does. I get back out there and try to win again. Maybe it didn't go my way this weekend, but I got back out there and it did go my way. But it would have never went my way if I just would have pouted over the Europeans and then just quit and never went back out there and fight. So think about that. It's the best advice I can give you. Hopefully it helps. And again, coming from a competitor, super active competitor like myself, I'm out there. I go through all the processes and all the anxiety, not really anxiety, but like, the excitement and, all the feelings that you get from competing. I get all those too. I'm in the mix with my team. You know, it felt good to have my team. Like, you know, at one point, Mr. Jair Gomez was fighting next to me. He's on one mat, I'm on the other, and it feels good to have some soldiers out there like that, man. It really does. You know, I won my match, and then he won his match, you know, by submission. So that was awesome. It was good stuff. So, anyways, let you guys go. You have a great day, and remember, don't cry to quit. Cry to keep going, and when you're already in pain, get a reward from it. You guys have a great day. Bye.